And when these current expectations that we have now land on top of these patterns from your past, your nervous system, it reacts quickly. And it's not because you're broken. It's because your body remembers. Welcome to Nature to Nurture. I'm Tiffany, and this is a space for parents, for caregivers, for those who want to raise healthy families through connection, nervous system awareness, and small but very meaningful shifts. If these conversations resonate, you can join my weekly Friday reflections through the link down in the show notes. This is just a gentle pause that you can carry with you into the weekend. Let's begin. When I start feeling off, it doesn't show up quietly. It feels like fireworks inside of my chest. It's not panic. It's not anxiety. It's just this buzzing feeling inside. It's like my body is trying to mobilize before I have already consciously decided anything at all. Some days it shows up as being super sharp and reactive. It shows up as me being less patient than I want to be. And some days it shows up as being numb, as disconnected, like I'm moving through my day, but I'm not fully in it. So I want to ask you, do you feel more reactive than usual? Or do you feel strangely numb? And when was the last time that you noticed your whole entire body and how your body was feeling before you snapped? One more question. What would change in your home if you started responding to your body sooner? Not perfectly, just sooner. I've been paying attention to what actually is setting off these fireworks inside of me. And I've noticed it is not random stress. It is outside expectations, especially the expectations that I need to respond perfectly. These might not be expectations that others are trying to put on to me. I want to clarify that, but these are expectations that I am feeling deeply inside. This comes when I have a hard email to send or a parenting moment where I want to say the right thing. A conversation about social justice, something that's very important to me, and I don't want to cause harm in the conversation. Or a deadline that feels really tight. There's this pressure to get it right. And that fear underneath all of the pressure is that I might cause harm or that I'm incompetent. And that's when my body mobilizes. That's when I feel like I have to handle this correctly. I have to save this. I have to say things carefully, and I have to be sure I'm not messing this up. And instead of pausing, I push through. I finish the task. I craft the careful response. I clean the kitchen when I get home, especially if I haven't closed a loop, if I haven't completed it perfectly at work. Completion feels like control, and control feels like safety. And here's what I'm learning. The fireworks that I'm feeling inside of my body, it's not about the actual task. It's about that pressure to be perfect. We just got back from an amazing trip out to Hawaii a few weeks ago. We've been back now 2 weeks. And it was amazing, and it had some trials with it as well. We had long flights, of course, 3 separate flights to get over there. We had a disrupted rhythm, and we still had all of these responsibilities that we were carrying in the background. When we first got to the island, we couldn't find our vacation rental. The address was not pulling up correctly, and there was this tension in between all of us. We'd been traveling. Number one, we wanted to just relax and be in the condo, and we couldn't figure out where we were going. It was frustrating, to say the least. All of us, all four of us were frustrated, and I felt it building up and building up. And the buzzing, it was in my chest. I felt the urgency to fix it for everybody. I just wanted everybody to feel good, to be able to relax, to sit back, to be happy. And there was this pressure that I had to not let anything escalate. I was trying to keep it really calm. I was trying to stay calm, even though I was in a new place. I didn't know where I was going. There again is that safety cue. When we finally found the place and I got inside, I took off my shoes and my feet were extremely swollen. They were so tight, like a balloon, shiny. They were tingling. They were almost bracing against the ground. And I realized something very confronting. My body had been mobilizing, had been moving, had been holding me up long before that moment. And it's not because there was that tension and it was crazy and everything was falling apart. It's because I was feeling responsible for responding perfectly the whole entire time we were traveling, making sure that everybody else was having the best travel experience. You see, I knew that my feet were swelling when we first started the flights, but I didn't take off my shoes because I didn't want to see it. I overrid the whispers that my body was giving me to pay attention and to care for myself. Parents today carry something subtle but very heavy. You see, we're not just parenting. We're parenting while being trauma aware, nervous system aware. We're trying to break cycles. We're trying to not use adultism. We're trying to not repeat what hurt us. We're trying to be more emotionally intelligent and to not cause harm. And that awareness, it's beautiful. And it can quietly turn into, I need to respond perfectly. And nervous systems, they don't relax under that perfection pressure. They mobilize. When the fear underneath it is, I might hurt someone, I might expose what I don't know. Your body doesn't see that as small, little things. It sees it as a huge threat, and so it gears up. And when we stay mobilized long enough, that's when we internally snap, or we shut down. Neither of those responses means that we are failing. Those are protective responses. For many of us, this pressure, it didn't just start when we became adults. Maybe when you were young, you learned that being competent, doing good enough, kept you safe. Maybe you learned that mistakes led to criticism. Maybe you learned that being the capable one meant that you were valued and seen. These aren't dramatic stories. These are common occurrences. And when these current expectations that we have now land on top of these patterns from your past, your nervous system, it reacts quickly. And it's not because you're broken. It's because your body remembers. If you've listened to this podcast for a while, you know we talk often about regulation right before we talk about behavior. We cannot support behavior if we do not first support regulation. We talk about how children respond to the state that we as parents and caregivers are in, not just the words that we are using. We talk a lot about how stepping outside, slowing your breath, softening your tone, it's not avoidance, but it is foundational to your practices. And this episode right here, this episode is going to build on that. But today we're going to apply it to something a little bit quieter, that perfection pressure. Because here's what matters. Children don't need perfect responses. They need regulated enough responses. If your child watches you pause and say, "I need a second," that teaches more than a flawless response ever could. If they watch you soften instead of escalate, they learn that tension doesn't have to mean danger. They learn that repair is possible, and they learn that bodies. But if they watch us believe that love requires perfection, then they will also believe that their worth requires perfection. Let me say that again. If they watch us acting in a way where we are performing in a way that requires perfection, when in order for us to be giving them love, we have to be doing it perfectly, then they will believe that their worth, how they show up in order to get that love, also requires perfection. That's the ripple effect. That's the generational gunk that I know you're trying. I've been experimenting with something small. Instead of asking, how do I respond perfectly? How do I show up just right? I ask myself, what would enough look like? What would regulated enough look like? What would enough of a response of an action look like? Not 100% perfect, but 70%. And maybe that means that my response is shorter or simpler or slower or delayed. Like today, I'm a little bit late on getting this episode out to you. And as you've heard, there's background noise. I'm outside. It's simpler. Sometimes it means saying, instead of doing it right away, let me think about that, or I'll get back to you. Or simply, I got this message that came in and I'm not ready. I will respond tomorrow. That's okay. It could be lowering your voice instead of over-explaining your point. I've also realized that if I wait until my body is all the way up at a level 9 out of 10 before I respond, it's not good. And I want to ask you, what would it look like to respond instead at a level 4? Before the fireworks are loud, before there's the edge in my voice, before my kids feel the shift, I can respond. I want you guys to try something now, something gentle. I want you to think of something right now you feel pressure to respond perfectly to, okay? Maybe it's an email, maybe it's something that's going on with your kids, maybe it's a conversation you need to have with your spouse or with a friend, with a coworker. Take a second and notice how you're feeling in your chest. Do you feel a tightening in your chest? Or maybe your shoulders or your back? Or somewhere else in your body? Do you feel a buzzing? A forward-leaning energy to move? No, I quietly want to say, you do not have to respond perfectly to be safe. Say that to yourself. I do not have to respond perfectly to be safe. Take a breath and ask yourself, what would regulated enough look like here? You're not being careless. You're not being avoidant. You're just being steady enough. You are allowed to care deeply without having to be perfect. There's nothing wrong with you for feeling activated right now, for feeling like you need to go, you need to move, you need to do, you need to perform. As we all know, our world, especially right here in the United States, but our world, it's loud. The expectations are high. And if you're listening to this episode, if you are on this podcast at all, I guarantee it's because you care deeply. Your nervous system is trying to protect you from harm. But performing in perfection, that's not safety. Regulation is safety. Remember, regulation doesn't require flawlessness. It requires awareness and willingness and small micro shifts. I want to thank you all for being here with me today and really listening to my story. I know that we might not be here at the same time, but I feel you listening to me and connecting with me, and I hope that I too can listen to you and connect with you, because we're all in this together. We're all connected. And so I really want to thank you again, taking a few minutes out of your day to listen. And more than that, taking a few minutes out of your day to instill these practices, to start noticing when you're tense and taking care of yourself before you get tense. Maybe you're driving in the car and you're noticing you're feeling tense. At the stoplight, practice some square breathing. 4 breaths in, hold, 4 breaths out, hold. Maybe you're writing an email and you start to feel some bubbles in your tummy. Stand up, walk outside, or go to a window and get some sun on your hair and look at nature. These little shifts, they're going to support you. And if this episode supported you, you are always welcome to jump on into my Friday reflections through the link in the show notes. This is a quiet space where I'm going to be sending out simple and sustainable ways that you can continue. And wherever you are in your parenting today, the small ways you show up, the care that you give, the pauses that you attempt, they matter more than you know. The way that you care counts.